Hey guys, it's Noelle and thank you for watching my video. So in my paper, I'll be talking about the book Severance and how it portrays Asian American work culture. Here's an overview of my presentation. I'll be talking about my thesis, my three subclaims, my secondary source, three wider implications, and then my works cited page. So here's my thesis. Through Candace's journey in Severance, Ling Ma exposes how the Asian American contract shapes Asian American belonging in a post apocalyptic world. Work becomes not a mere livelihood, but a moral justification for her presence in the world. So my first subclaim is about Candace's productivity. I still need to refine my subclaims more, but here's just a general idea of them. So I'll be analyzing how Candace's relentless work ethic reflects the Asian American contract, or like the value in the Asian American community of always working, or like always working towards upward mobility and economic prosperity. Um, and then second, I'll be talking about assimilation pressures and how Severance portrays working as a strategy to assimilate into American culture. So in the book, they portray this in Candace's parents. Her dad and mom kind of found their purpose after immigrating from China to Utah by well, her dad worked in the university, and then her mom kind of found a job through being involved in the church. Even though it wasn't like a traditional job where you get a salary, it demanded the same of her as a normal job. And then this is also portrayed in Candace and how her identity is strongly tied to Spectra, and how she kind of finds purpose and belonging through her job at Spectra. Third, I'll be talking about Candace's alienation from her community, and how it reveals the emotional toll of a work culture that is so intense it demands self erasure in exchange for belonging. So, in the book, Candace is so deeply devoted to her work that it results in her being alienated from her boyfriend. They eventually break up when she doesn't want to leave her work to go with him, to leave New York, and how it kind of just results in her being lonely because she devotes so much of her life to it. So my secondary source is by Rebecca Liu, who's a professor at, I believe, Brown University. But yeah, she talks about the term the Asian American contract, and how it originated, or I think she coined the term, but she talks about the historical meaning of it and how in the Americas, Chinese immigrants first came here and were basically required to constantly have proof of work as their visa, or else they would be deported back to China. And she talks about how culturally that's ingrained in the Asian American community, to always have like a constant state of employment and like a strong work ethic, basically. Yeah, and she also talks about the cultural pressure to be economically prosperous and how that's kind of valued over everything, like over like individual values and joys. Um, yeah, economic prosperity is kind of put like on the hierarchy of needs at the top, and then everything else comes after, even if it comes at your own self expense, which is a strong theme reflected in Severance. Candace stays working at Spectra even when people are dying in New York from Shen fever. Lastly, lastly, the source goes over the work culture's effect on identity in the Asian American diaspora. Kind of what I talked about before, but basically, such a strong devotion to work and such a strong value of a strong work ethic is deeply ingrained in Asian American culture to the point that it affects other life sectors, and it also results in a loss of identity. Like in the book, once Candace's contract with Spectra ends, she kind of moves her contract over to her child. She names her Luna after herself, and by naming her Luna, it's like signing her name, or at least Liu argues that it's like signing her name onto a new work contract where she's now indentured to serving her daughter. Yeah, so the wider implications, these are just general themes I'll be talking about, but yeah, the wider implications of my paper will most likely be capitalism, self-sacrifice, and cultural narratives. So Asian American work culture heavily emphasizes capitalism, and rewards compliance over individuality. Self-sacrifice, I've already talked about before pretty extensively, but Candace sacrifices a lot at her job. And then for cultural narratives, I'll be talking about how Candace's story is kind of reflected in the Asian American community and the broader migrant community. Thank you for watching. Here's my works cited. Um, yeah, and here's my meme on the next slide. I didn't want to do too crazy of a meme, so this one's just about how uh, about work culture in the US. But yes, thank you.